in the heart of the historic city of Edinburgh, Scotland. Hidden beneath its cobblestone streets, there exists a labyrinth of dark, eerie tunnels known as the South Bridge Vaults. These ancient vaults, built in the late 18th century, have become notorious for their tales of paranormal activity and ghostly encounters. It is within the cold, damp depths of these underground passages that a particularly chilling story unfolds, one that weaves together history, tragedy, and the supernatural. The South Bridge Vaults, originally constructed to provide additional storage space for the city's thriving businesses and merchants, were a testament to Edinburgh's rapid growth during the late 18th century. Stretching beneath the bustling South Bridge, they were initially hailed as an engineering marvel. However, over time, these underground chambers would witness a darker side of the city's history. As the years passed, the vaults fell into disuse, and the once bustling storage spaces became the refuge of those who had nowhere else to go. It was a time when poverty, disease, and destitution were rampant in Edinburgh, and the vaults offered a grim shelter to those who sought escape from the hardships of life above. One of the most chilling accounts from the South Bridge Vaults centers around a young woman named Isabella. In the early 19th century, Isabella lived a life of hardship and toil in the heart of Edinburgh. Born into a poor family, she found herself trapped in a life of servitude, working tirelessly for a wealthy merchant's household. Isabella's employer, a man known for his harshness and cruelty, was notorious for exploiting his servants. The young woman, a gentle soul with dreams of a better life, endured a life of endless labor and abuse within the merchant's household. But she also bore witness to a secret that would soon haunt her dreams. One moonless night, while searching for an errant piece of jewelry in the dimly lit chamber of her employer's house, Isabella stumbled upon a hidden compartment beneath the floorboards. In the concealed chamber, she discovered a cache of trinkets, jewels, and precious heirlooms. They were the stolen possessions of countless individuals who had passed through the household, never to see their prized belongings again. Isabella's discovery unveiled a dark secret of her employer's greed and deceit. She was horrified to think of the lives he had ruined by pilfering from those who had entrusted their belongings to him. But the worst was yet to come. In a cruel twist of fate, Isabella found herself framed for the theft of the very jewels she had discovered. Her malicious employer, fearing the consequences of his actions coming to light, falsely accused her of the theft. Isabella's pleas of innocence fell on deaf ears, and she was quickly condemned. The sentence was swift and harsh. She was to be dismissed from her position, left destitute and without a roof over her head. Her hopes of a better life were shattered, and she was thrust into a world of uncertainty and despair. With nowhere to turn, Isabella was driven to seek shelter within the South Bridge Vaults, joining the ranks of the desperate and destitute who had taken refuge in the underground chambers. Life in the vaults was a nightmare of dampness, darkness, and destitution. The crowded and squalid conditions of the vaults only exacerbated the dire circumstances that had led Isabella there in the first place. As days turned into weeks and weeks and weeks into months, the shadow of the injustice she had suffered loomed ever larger over Isabella. Her resentment and anger simmered, and the darkness within the vault seemed to feed off her negative emotions. It was as if her very presence had stirred something malevolent from its slumber. One fateful night, as Isabella lay on her makeshift bed of tattered blankets and straw, she was roused from her fitful slumber by an otherworldly chill that seemed to emanate from the very walls of the vault. The air grew heavy, and the oppressive darkness was suddenly pierced by an eerie, spectral light that flickered and danced with an unnatural bluish hue. For a moment, Isabella believed it was a fevered hallucination, brought on by her desperation and despair. But as the spectral light intensified, a ghostly figure materialized before her eyes. It was a woman, her features contorted in a terrifying blend of anguish and rage. The phantom was clad in tattered remnants of a servant's uniform, much like the one Isabella had once worn. The ghostly figure reached out a translucent hand towards her, and with an agonized wail that echoed through the vault, it beckoned Isabella to follow. Paralyzed by fear, Isabella hesitated, but the ghostly woman's plea was relentless. Her silent entreaty was palpable, and Isabella could feel the weight of her suffering and injustice. With trembling limbs, she finally rose from her makeshift bed and began to follow the apparition deeper into the labyrinthine passageways of the South Bridge vaults. As she ventured further into the underground labyrinth, Isabella became aware of a cacophony of ghostly whispers that seemed to fill the very air itself. The voices belonged to countless souls who had suffered and perished in the vaults over the years. They recounted tales of poverty, disease, and unrelenting despair. Their voices told of lives cut short, hopes extinguished, and dreams shattered. The spectral voices guided Isabella, leading her through the winding corridors until they reached a hidden chamber deep within the underground maze. In this chamber, the walls were adorned with faded and tattered garments, the remnants of those who had sought refuge within the vaults. The ghostly figure that had led Isabella to this chamber stood in the center, her mournful eyes locked onto a small, weathered chest. With trembling hands, Isabella opened the chest, revealing a collection of stolen goods, including the very jewels she had been accused of stealing. It was then that the spectral woman pointed to the stolen items, and Isabella understood the truth. The ghostly apparition was the spirit of a woman who, like her, had been falsely accused and wronged. The stolen possessions in the chest were the proof of her innocence, a silent accusation against the cruel injustices of the past. Overwhelmed by a mixture of relief and dread, Isabella realized that she had been chosen to right a wrong. From beyond the grave, it was her duty to expose the merchant's deceit, to clear her name, and by doing so, to offer a form of redemption to the tormented spirit. With the stolen items in hand, Isabella made her way back to the surface, determined to reveal the truth and seek justice. Her efforts led to an investigation that uncovered her employer's malicious schemes and the dark secrets of his household. Her name was finally cleared, and the stolen items were returned to their rightful owners. Isabella, once a symbol of the suffering and injustice that had transpired within the South Bridge vaults, had risen above her adversity to bring about justice. The haunting of her past was finally put to rest, and she could begin anew, free from the darkness that had once consumed her life. Yet, the story did not end there. The South Bridge vaults remained a place where the line between the living and the dead seemed to blur, where the pain and anguish of the past clung to the stone walls like an unbreakable curse. The tales of ghostly figures and paranormal activity continued to plague the underground labyrinth, as if the darkness of the past continued to cast a haunting shadow over the present. The vaults remained a place where the veil between the realms of the living and the dead was at its thinnest. Over the years, countless visitors, tourists, and those brave enough to venture into the depths of the vaults reported eerie encounters and unsettling experiences. It was as if the vaults themselves retained the suffering, torment, and despair of the countless souls who had sought refuge within their stone walls. The South Bridge vaults remained a place where the past and the present converged in an eerie realm of eternal twilight. A place where the voices of the departed could still be heard, seeking to share their stories, to seek justice, or in some cases, to find a form of redemption that only the living could provide. Even today, those who dare to venture into the South Bridge vaults do so with a sense of trepidation, for they know that the spirits of the past may still walk among them. The echoes of history, the pain of the tormented, and the lingering specters of injustice continue to haunt the underground depths, casting a chilling and inescapable presence over this dark and haunted corner of Edinburgh.